I promised I would fix this crisis, and I intend to keep that promise.
President Trump offers a compromise to end the stalemate in Washington.
Democratic leaders shot down the president's plan before it was even formally presented.
Democrats are hypocritical and they're disingenuous. They're against the president before they know what he's even going to say.
A new migrant caravan heading toward the U.S.-Mexico border.
Women's marches taking place across the country while controversy over accusations of anti-Semitism hang over their message.
I appreciate the special counsel coming out with a statement.
President Trump offering a rare show of praise after Mueller's office described a BuzzFeed news report as not accurate.
Y'all are BuzzFeed. You do memes and lists. This isn't really what we need from you.
A winter storm slamming the Midwest, blanketing the region in snow.
By taking this oath, you have forged a sacred bond with this nation. I want to congratulate you and welcome you to the family.
Was the inauguration?
This is the morning, January 20th.
You can still taste the liberal tears, too. Still can.
You actually can. It's been 2 years. Wow.
Doesn't it feel like 6?
It feels like 6, but it's because there's been so much winning that you get tired.
It's exhausting.
Keep going. All right, let's do 6 more.
Is here,
it's true. Yeah, but it's like you roll in as a dance club at 6 a.m., you know?
Something like that. But 2 years in now, President Trump is trying to get the government back open and trying to get a deal on immigration, an issue that he campaigned on, that helped him get elected as President of the United States. Now, several weeks into the longest government shutdown in American history, he's proposing a big new deal.
That's right. A partial government shutdown, I'll always note. But you're right. We're a month into it. It seems that both sides are at loggerheads. And the president yesterday took to the podium in the White House and spoke to the nation and said, I'm ready to make a deal. I don't know if Chuck and Nancy are, but he laid out his contours for a deal to reopen the government and address our immigration crisis. This is the president yesterday.
Our immigration system has been badly broken for a very long time. Over the decades, many presidents and many lawmakers have come and gone, and no real progress has been made. We are now living with the consequences, and they are tragic. As a candidate for president, I promised I would fix this crisis, and I intend to keep that promise one way or the other. The good news is these problems can all be solved. Both sides in Washington must simply come together, listen to each other, put down their armor, build trust, reach across the aisle, and find solutions.
So what's in the deal? The president, I think, tried to frame this in a new way by first having the first ever naturalization ceremony in the Oval Office right before that, and trying to say, look, I'm for legal immigration despite all the charges of racism and all of the rest that he's going to face from the left no matter what. And so what actually is in the deal is also humanitarian aid, $800 million. $805 million in new drug detection technology, over 2,700 new border agents and law enforcement, 75 new immigration judge teams, and still holding firm on the $5.7 billion for a border barrier to try to have that mix of, I'm being compassionate, I want humanitarian aid, but I also want to hold firm on a barrier.
And then the sort of gift to Democrats was the 3 years of legal relief, basically a 3-year extension of DACA protection for DACA recipients, and then a 3-year extension of protection for immigrants under temporary protected status. So he held firm on the $5.7 billion. A lot of people looking to see whether he would move on that. And then basically said, hey, if you want to reopen the government, I will give you DACA. I will give you other aspects of a temporary protected status, only temporarily for 3 years. And then I think that gives him room to say, well, if you want a full DACA fix, then I want even more wall money. I'm not saying that's where it'll go, but he didn't cave on the bigger number, which is what people were looking at.
I think this was a genuine effort on his part to compromise. I mean, he really wants these barriers because he's spoken to Border Patrol agents so many times, and he reiterated, you know, this is something that I put forth with the input from people that are working at the border that are saying this is what they need. I'm coming to the table with compromise. Many felt he was going to stand stand firm and not do any compromise at all. But it's been really interesting to see the Democrats' reaction immediately, because I was watching on Twitter right away before they had even heard
was it a reaction or
saying,
pre-action?
Right.
Yeah.
Before they had even heard what was in it, they were saying, we're not going to sign up for this. I mean, Nancy Pelosi coming out right away saying his proposal is a compilation of several previously rejected initiatives, each of which is unacceptable. And in total, how do you do that without having even heard what the guy's going to do?
Yeah,
I mean, how does that even, doesn't that just show that you're out to be an obstructionist? I don't even understand. And this is all, remember, guys, this is all stuff that Democrats have supported in the past, not only the barriers, but Democrats, these are some Democrat-sponsored bills that he's now saying, okay, I'm going to give you this. They have supported all of these things.
They've also supported a barrier wall.
Right, and now suddenly don't support any of it? It makes no sense.
The person who had the prequel, if you will, is Dick Durbin. Even before Nancy Pelosi, even before the president spoke at the White House, Dick Durbin was out saying, I cannot support the proposed offer as reported, and I do not believe it can pass the Senate. What's interesting is the fact of the matter is, if you look back a couple of weeks earlier, the same Dick Durbin said the Bridge Act, which is basically an extension of DACA that the president is now proposing and supports, he supported. He said it would ensure that millions of dreamers remain in this country while we do our work in the House and Senate on immigration. So just as his buddy Chuck Schumer was once for a barrier and now is basically against it, Dick Durbin, it didn't take years. It's not like the Schumer deal. You know,
2 years ago.
There he is. He's within a short amount of period. Dick Durbin is saying, I was for extending DACA. Now he's saying we can't deal with that. Of course, he still wants it, but he wants to get the government open first.
They want it for everything.
So that they can keep sort of punting and punting and punting. The president saying, let's put it all on the table right now, buddy.
Because Nancy spoke for most of Democrats when she said yesterday, no wall, no wall, no wall. That's her whole, that's all they care about. So he's willing to say, listen, you know the wall matters to me.
Right.
And the experts on the ground say it matters. I see what matters to you. I will give you what matters to you, even though I'm going to get hit. We'll talk a little bit about him being hit by his base and others, some people who don't love this potential compromise. But they have to give at some point. And I think that's going to hurt Democrats eventually.
They look ridiculous. They look completely ridiculous. And it's because they don't want to give him a talking point. They don't want him to be able to go out there for 2020 and say that this is a campaign promise fulfilled. And they want that talking point of the wall is immoral because they don't have anything else. But it's at the expense of the national security of the nation. And it's just like, listen, Democrats, I get it. I get it's politics. But honestly, be bigger than that for a minute. The guy's coming to the table with a legitimate compromise you can get behind. People on your side, don't forget, people that voted for Democrats are now going to be looking at them and saying, we support these things. Hold on a second.
Democrats
we
could
want
take
these
it and
DACA
run
recipients
because
protected.
they've always wanted to protect the DACA recipients.
Yeah.
So they're getting protection for the DACA recipients. Sure, they also want a path to citizenship. Well, then negotiate that out.
Well, that's why it's a
table.
3-year extension. Then go to the ballot box, win your argument, and then give them. If you take control of the White House, give them whatever you want. That's your prerogative. Well, Kayleigh McEnany, who's the RNC spokeswoman, says this plan, this compromise, it's the one the Dems have always wanted. Listen.
Democrats are fakers. Democrats are posers. And the reason I say that is they said they want DACA legalization. Well, this is a great first step toward that. They say that they wanted a barrier on the southern border just 5 years ago when they voted on it in the Gang of Eight bill. Now they don't. They've posed and they've faked their way. This is the plan they've always wanted, and here they are rejecting it.
The best part of the president's plan politically is what he's trying to do is box out Nancy Pelosi. She has control of the House now, so she keeps passing these bills easily because she has the votes to reopen the government without border wall funding. Yeah. The president's flipped it and now said, I've got something that the Democrats say they want and something the Republicans say they want, and I'm going to put it in the Senate where I have more votes. I now have a majority of 53 Republicans. And by the way, Mitt Romney, not only a supporter of his, is saying this is a good idea. So if he can put pressure on some moderate Democrats, he might actually get to 60 votes in the Senate.
That's right.
Get this plan through. Then what happens? It's flipped. Nancy Pelosi is on defense. She's the one. Why won't you pass this and reopen the government? So he flips the equation.
I was thinking about you when this came out last night, though, because you're a hard right guy. You're a pretty strong Trump supporter, and he was taking a lot of heat from people on the right. I mean, you saw there was a tweet from Ann Coulter that said Trump proposes amnesty. We voted for Trump and got Jeb. I mean, what is your take on that? No, and on the opposite side, frankly, you had Mark Levin saying, I strongly support President Trump's immigration proposal today. Pelosi and Schumer rejected it even before the president spoke to the nation and made his proposal. They're radical know-nothings. Let's hope some rank-and-file Democrats break from their open border leadership and vote for it. You should contact your members of Congress and urge them to do so. So as someone who is on the hard right, Pete, pretty consistently, did this bother you? Did you feel like he caved?
No, I don't. I think these are differences in tactics. Ann Coulter wants to secure the border. Mark Levin has always wanted to secure the border. By the way, Mark Levin is going to be on our show at 8:30, I believe. Tune in to hear more about his
the great
thoughts
one.
on the great one. Will be with us. But listen, you at some point when you govern, you're going to have to give an inch. Now, the question is, has he given too much? Did they get anything 2 years in? There's a lot of residual frustration that someone like an Ann Coulter expresses. But in this moment, if you're a Trump supporter and you believe in the wall and borders, there's no doubt this president is committed to that.
Right.
He's trying to get the best deal he can at this moment. So I think Ann Coulter serves the role of making sure the deal gets better. And a guy like Mark Levin at this point, push him along, and it'll be interesting
and
to
the
see what Mark
closer
Levin
for the
says.
president, perhaps, is Vice President Mike Pence. He was briefing reporters behind closed doors yesterday. He'll be on some Sunday shows, including Fox News Sunday. He said this is not an amnesty bill. There is no amnesty in the president's proposals. There is no pathway to citizenship. That's what
true.
Democrats want. So instead, there's protections to keep DACA recipients here for 3 years, not kick them out of the country, but not put them on a path to citizenship. And again, the president's saying, I'm not closing the door on keeping these young people in America long term, but come to the table. We'll have weekly meetings at the White House after this.
Yes,
to
but
try and
legislate it.
Right,
We're not
work
going
it
to kick.
out.
You have to make a call and put your skin on the line. You vote up or down on it. And I think that's but let us know what you think. Friends at FoxNews.com. Everyone has an opinion on this at this point. We want to hear yours.
Yeah, and I'm curious if you're on the right, too, out there listening. Do you fall in the Ann Coulter camp or the Mark Levin camp? Because that's always fascinating to me how folks on the right respond.
There we go.
It's interesting. No, it's true, because they're both leaders in the movement on the right. All right, we got to get some headlines for you.
I've not earned a camp
this morning. We begin with extreme weather. A deadly, massive winter storm threatening to drop up to 2 feet of snow in the Northeast. 3 people were killed in snow-related crashes in Kansas and Wisconsin. Thousands of flights have been canceled. A plane even skidding off a runway in Chicago. Further south, a tornado rips through Alabama, destroying homes, even trapping some families in their basements. President Trump salutes the remains of 4 fallen American heroes. The commander-in-chief traveling to Dover Air Force Base as they returned to the United States. The 4 Americans were among 19 killed in a suicide bombing in Syria. The president met privately with their families. The 3rd annual Women's March draws much smaller crowds this year amid an anti-Semitism controversy. Organizers planned for hundreds of thousands in Washington, but wound up with just a permit for just 10,000. 2 organizers came under fire for ties to controversial Nation of Islam leader who's made hateful remarks about Jews. And a trip to the Super Bowl on the line today in the NFL. 2 games. First up, the Rams take on the Saints in the NFC Championship. Kickoff is at 3:05 Eastern on Fox. The AFC title game between the New England Patriots and Kansas City Chiefs starts at 6:40 Eastern. Today's winners play in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks.
I like days like this where the schedule is easy. Watch Fox Sports, maybe go to church, go to brunch,
Small nap.
and then watch football for the rest of the day. Done.
Great plan.
Small nap, yes.
It's just small nap.
Stay right
The
here,
nap
'cause
is key.
We've got a great show. As you heard, Mark Levin, many other big guests coming up.
Yes.
Also, even SNL is now taking aim at BuzzFeed after the special counsel called his latest report on the president not accurate.
We all think it's great that you want to help, but this isn't really what we need from you. Y'all are BuzzFeed. You do memes and lists.
We'll talk about the big bombshell that went bust straight ahead.
Plus, more backlash from that New York Times article claiming the FBI was investigating the president for being a Russian agent. Greg Jarrett says it's just more proof of the Bureau's corruption. He's here with us live next.
Russia hoax.
It is the Russian.
Well, as the mainstream media deals with all the fallout from that BuzzFeed piece being discredited by the special counsel, there's even more backlash against the FBI after that New York Times article claiming the FBI was probing the president for allegedly being a Russian agent. Our next guest argues these reports only offer more proof of the Bureau's corruption, dishonesty, and the media's big problems in the Trump age. Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett is author of The Russia Hoax. He joins us now to explain. Good to see you bright and early.
Good to see you. It is kind of early.
Look,
it's still dark outside.
In the span of a week, we had the New York Times come out with a quote-unquote blockbuster saying the president might have been a Russian agent. Fast forward a week later, as I say, BuzzFeed has another blockbuster bombshell that says maybe he instructed Michael Cohen to commit a crime. Right. They're both falling apart, and it seems to me that the media's credibility is on the line.
Yeah, you know, the credibility of the mainstream media in America is either dead or dying. At best, it's on life support. And both of these stories really prove it, especially the BuzzFeed. Reporters, television anchors knew or should have known that that is a fake report. You know, I mean, after all, it comes from BuzzFeed, which is the Charmin of toilet paper news on the internet. But the story made no sense. It was poorly sourced. So there were red flags everywhere. And
but BuzzFeed is standing behind the story. We'll let them deal with whether they can ever prove it's right or wrong. But I think to your broader point, right, you had all of these folks at other networks and big newspapers who jumped on it immediately, even though it was flawed, and said this is going to lead to impeachment.
For 24 hours, they battered President Trump like a human piñata. They gleefully predicted his imminent resignation or impeachment, some fantasizing about his indictment, conviction, and pushing a broom in the prison. The media nowadays has abandoned objectivity and lost all sense of fairness. It is no wonder that most Americans think the mainstream media, which is mostly liberal, are dishonest.
Well, Greg, I was at a dinner 2 Fridays ago, and as I mentioned, the New York Times had that other blockbuster that maybe the president was a Russian agent. There was a guy at the table on the left who literally was rubbing his hand. They finally got Trump. They got him. And I said, let's see the facts and how this plays out. You know all these players, Strzok and Page and James Baker at the Obama FBI, who were holdovers, basically, and they have a lot to answer for.
Oh, they absolutely do. First of all, they launched an investigation of the president in the summer of 2016 without probable cause, credible evidence, or even reasonable suspicion. And then they lied to a FISA court to spy on the Trump campaign, but it got worse. They got angry when Trump, for just cause, fired James Comey. And so in an act of retribution and vengeance, they decide, aha, we're going to go after him as a Russian agent. This underscores the corruption and dishonesty of the FBI. It needs to be cleaned up by the new Attorney General, William Barr, when he's confirmed.
Big issues ahead. Greg Jarrett, the Russia hoax. We appreciate you coming in.
My pleasure, Ed.
All right. A lot more coming up. The president offering a big DACA deal in exchange for border wall funding. So how do DACA recipients actually feel about the president's offer? Democrats are rejecting it, but what do actual DACA recipients think? We'll ask our next guest. He is a DACA recipient. He joins us live with the Inside Scoop.
If I built a van?
Some quick headlines. Pete Hegseth edition, where you get to climb the stairs. At least 73 people are now reported dead from a fiery explosion in Mexico. A children's hospital in Galveston, Texas, is treating some of the 74 others that have been seriously injured. Now, thieves tapping into a fuel pipeline near Mexico City sparked that devastating blast. And Mexico's president is now intensifying calls to crack down on widespread fuel theft in his country. Meanwhile, 84,000 Yellow Vest protesters are flooding the streets of France for a 10th straight weekend. Demonstrators clashing with police in Paris while marching against the government and the high cost of living there. At least 23 people arrested. Jed?
Thanks, Ed. President Trump giving the Democrats a generous offer to get funding for the border wall.
Number one is 3 years of legislative relief for 700,000 DACA recipients brought here unlawfully by their parents at a young age. Secondly, our proposal provides a 3-year extension of temporary protected status, or TPS.
That in exchange for $5.7 billion in the border wall. So far, Democrats have shown disinterest in the proposal that would benefit legal DACA recipients. Joining us now to react, Hilario Yanez is a DACA recipient himself. Hilario, thanks so much for being here this morning.
Thanks for coming.
Your initial reaction, you've seen where the debate is. You know, as you can see below me, we're in the 29th day of a shutdown. The president makes a good faith proposal. Your reaction?
Well, I want to begin by thanking the president and the Republican leadership for being fearless, bold, and courageous. for embracing the DACA community. So thank you so much. I think at the end of the day, could the president have asked for a permanent solution? Absolutely. It's in his heart. But he's giving Speaker Pelosi an opportunity and also inviting her to come back and bring a counteroffer. And I think once we hear that counteroffer, permanent solution, then I think both parties will come to agreement and we're going to find a great deal for the American people.
You know, Nancy Pelosi immediately kind of shutting this down, saying they're not interested, stating, in fact, it is unlikely that any one of these provisions alone would pass the House. And taken together, they are a non-starter. What do you make of her just immediately shutting this down and saying, well, you know what, unless it's a permanent solution, we're not going to bite?
Well, Speaker Pelosi stood for 8 hours last year fighting for the Dreamer community, fighting for a permanent solution. And I know people just don't stand for 8 hours for no reason. So I know she's going to come back with the counteroffer and bring a permanent solution. And look, President Trump is an ultimate deal maker. At the end of the day, he wants to bring safety. He wants to bring certainty for the Dreamers. And I think we're just waiting for that counteroffer. And I feel really optimistic that Pelosi is going to bring that to the table.
Hilario, but the counteroffer would have to include something for a border wall, yet Nancy Pelosi and others have said no wall, no wall, no wall, only barely $1. So what kind of counteroffer are they being disingenuous in saying, well, we need a permanent solution for DACA, but we won't even touch the wall?
Yeah, I mean, that's where we have to give and take here, right? So if Nancy Pelosi, I think we're going to have to put politics to the side and say, you know what, Mr. President, I'll give you a wall. In exchange, you give me permanent solution for the DACA community, and we can shake hands, we can agree, and we can move on to infrastructure and other big important policies for the rest of the year.
You know, Democrats have decided instead to take a strategy of just blaming President Trump and saying, you know, Chuck Schumer, for example, saying it was President Donald Trump who single-handedly took away DACA and TPS protections in the first place. Offering some protections back in exchange for the wall is not a compromise, but more hostage-taking. Can it also be, though, that the president is taking this out of the courts, removing this from the courts, and now instead saying, you know what, legislators, we got to fix this. It's time to get together and fix this, and actually taking an active step toward trying to find a solution that everyone can get on board with?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, this is coming from a Dreamer and a DACA recipient. I think DACA is unconstitutional. Look, at the end of the day, I'm always going to be grateful for former President Obama for giving me the opportunity to live the American dream. But I think a lot of Americans can agree what he did was the right thing to do. It was just the wrong way to go about it. He bypassed Congress and he did it himself. But now the President Trump and Speaker Pelosi have an opportunity to not just have a 3-year fix, but a permanent solution. And I think that's what we're waiting for.
Hilario, a poll caught our eye recently, which is stunning. Since the shutdown, 30 days, President Trump's approval rating amongst Latinos has risen 19% from 31% in December to 50% approval. That is completely counter to what the left wing or the mainstream media would believe is happening. What is it about Latinos or Hispanics? What do they like about a showdown or what the president's standing for on a border wall?
Well, look, I think right now, I believe his approval ratings might go even higher because he just continues to embrace the DACA community. He wants to solve this problem. I think a lot of Hispanics and Latinos really want to see the solution fixed once and for all, and a lot of Americans do. So I think once both parties come to agreements, I mean, it's a win-win situation for both parties, and then we can get ready for 2020 afterwards.
Do you think that's a sentiment that's common? Like, do you talk to people who are in a similar position as you, and do you hear that your point of view, which isn't often expressed in mainstream media by mainstream media outlets, is that a fairly common sentiment that you hear?
Well, I hear a lot of Dreamers are in support and agreement with a compromise. A lot of people support safety. You know, that should be our #1 priority. A lot of Dreamers.
It's a sneak peek of my brand new exciting special, Liars, Leakers, and Liberals, based on my book. It's available right now on Fox Nation. If you're not a member, sign up today. I'm Jeanine Pirro, advocating for truth, justice, and the American way. The Greg Gutfeld Show is coming up, and I'll see you next Saturday night.
Just another slow week in Trumpville. Let's start with the meal that made the media squeal.
We have pizzas, we have 300 hamburgers, many, many French fries.
Many French fries. That seems like a year ago. But the media lost their lunch over this and raged at Trump for serving food everyone on earth loves to eat. Think about it. How many times have you had to go to some formal event and plan what you're going to eat after you eat? Because the first dinner sucks. It's always like some tiny bird on a plate, all bones and veins. It's like you're eating an old lady's fist. Trump's been there many times. He thought, hey, what would I eat after I ate? Of course, burgers, pizza. It's what we all want. Yet people lost their minds, mainly over this.
Do we have no food for you? Because we have a shutdown. Or do we give you some little quick salads that the First Lady will make along with the Second Lady? They'll make some salads. And I said, you guys aren't into salads.
It's true. Nobody is into salads. Nobody. I mean, has anyone ever on death row ever asked for their last meal to be a chef salad? It's always burgers and pizza, making it the gold standard for everyone. But CNN went for the sexist angle.
That's appalling. It seems to me like the president will not be happy until there is not one single female Republican voter in the country. It's incredibly sexist. We aren't all here to make salads for men.
This is one of those things where sometimes what people say when they're being funny exposes exactly who they are and what they think.
But wait, aren't they the ones conflating gender with salad? I'll have you know, ladies, I make a mean salad. Lettuce, tomatoes, onions. Of course it's on top of a burger, but it's a salad, you pathetic, sexist. Disgusting. Anyway, this media response again proves two things. The press will use anything to trash Trump, and it's as if the trashing is always in lockstep, because it is. According to the Media Research Center, for Trump in 2018, coverage was 90% negative. And for the second year in a row, Russia was the most covered Trump topic, which makes me think, if space aliens landed on Earth and proceeded to devour the human race, annihilating billions of innocent humans in a brutal rampage of mutilation and dismemberment, the surviving media would ask, how does this affect the Mueller probe? The media has been so screwed up since Trump that they even see white privilege among blacks.
That's a whole nother long conversation about white privilege and things that you have the privilege of doing that people of color don't have the privilege of.
How do I have the privilege of white privilege?
David, by virtue of being a white male, you have white privilege.
Ariva, I hate to break it to you, but you should have been better prepped. I'm black.
Wait, he's black? Yeah, it's like, holy crap. But the big news of the week, Nancy Pelosi, a.k.a. the rich aunt who still gives you a lousy Christmas gift, urges President Trump in a letter to deliver his State of the Union in writing. I bet he took that seriously. I wonder how he looked after reading her letter. Flea market. All right, so how did Trump respond to Nancy? He canceled her trip to Brussels. 30 minutes. The only canceled flight people will applaud. He actually wrote her a letter. It's priceless. In it, he says, due to the shutdown, I am sorry to inform you that your trip's been canceled. Yeah, he's sorry. Somehow I doubt that he's really sorry. I wonder how he felt when he dropped that letter in the mail. Keep going. It's too perfect. Now, Trump canceled the trip, but it could have been worse. Think about it. He could have boarded the plane beforehand and filled it with fast food. Or he could have let it take off, then halfway there rerouted it to Mar-a-Lago and never tell Nancy. So as she steps off the aircraft, she's thinking, wow, Brussels looks a lot like Palm Beach. Or once they were ready to depart, announced that they're having a very special pilot flying this plane. Yep. So Nancy got off easy, but so did Donald. Think about it. Nancy's initial request just gave him the perfect excuse to get out of the worst thing ever, the State of the Union. It sucks. It's boring. It's dreadful. It's the ceremonial version of a colonoscopy. And I know, I had one on Wednesday. Let's roll the tape. Sorry, wrong tape. Can we roll the tape of my colonoscopy? All right, one more time. Can we see my colonoscopy? How did Bruce Willis get in there? I hope he reads the card. Anyhow, old joke. The State of the Union takes place in D.C., which means if it happens, I have to go to D.C., and I don't want to go to D.C. To get to D.C., I have to take a train through Delaware and Baltimore first, which is like having sex with two goats in order to have sex with a mule. So Nancy's letter gave Trump and me a golden ticket out of a nightmare. Trump should cancel the D.C. thing, get a large arena, pack it full of fans, have a great night. The press will have to cover it. After all, it's their job, and it's going to be hilarious. And the Dems will feel compelled to respond with the same two miserable stiffs who together can barely manage a pulse. It's too good to pass up. Imagine what Trump could come up with. It could be the greatest thing ever.
Tired of the same old boring State of the Union address featuring 45 minutes of soaring generalizations, followed by 50% applause, 50% expressionless faces? Then get ready for President Trump's
State of the Milky Way Galaxy, because it's the best galaxy of all the galaxies address.
Live from the surface of Titan,
Saturn's largest moon.
Because Neptune was
too low energy.
Boy, oh boy, that's a low energy planet.
This isn't your earthly State of the Union. No Congress, no Capitol, no problem. The usual crowd's not invited, but the media's invited. Why? Because in space, no one can hear the media whine about the president's Twitter feed. The president giving funny nicknames to his enemies.
Brian, Chuck, and Nancy.
The president eating well-done steak. The president being aggressively honest.
We give billions and billions of dollars to these foreign countries that don't give a damn about us.
The president asking NATO to pay their fair share, or any accomplishment in his first 2 years of office. Plus, there'll be tons of universe-changing announcements, like how the new Space Force has already won the first contact war of 2027 against
the evil space from the Andromeda Galaxy.
Or how he's turning the rings of Saturn into actual onion rings.
With unlimited dipping sauce from Chick-fil-A.
And of course, how he plans to build a space wall around Earth and make the Martians pay for it. It's the State of the Milky Way Galaxy because it's the best galaxy of all the galaxies addressed.
Let's welcome tonight's guest.
His dimples run as deep as his patriotism. Fox and Friends weekend co-host Pete Hegseth. She's so bright she saves money on lamps. Stock market guru and financial analyst Heather Zumarraga. She's so sharp her thoughts come with warning labels. National Review reporter Kat Timpf. And he makes onions cry. Former WWE superstar, my massive sidekick, and host of Un-PC on Fox Nation, that's Tyrus. All right. Pete, hasn't Pelosi handed Trump an amazing gift that he should take advantage of?
Yeah, first I have to say that open was something special.
Oh, well, thank you.
It truly was.
Yeah.
It was an amazing gift, because if it was conventional, what would happen? Trump would give an entire speech with Nancy Pelosi seated behind him in the House chamber. Who wants that?
No.
We don't want any part of that. Now he gets to pick his venue.
Yes.
See, they want to take him. Here's the thing, though. They want to take him out of the trappings of the presidency. They don't want him to look like the president. That's their issue. That's why they don't want him in the House of Representatives. Fine, do it in the Senate, where you'd have Mike Pence and Mitch McConnell behind him. Or even better, forget her disingenuous speakership, disinvite all the Democrats, go to the border, right in front of the wall, and say, "This, see these steel slats right here? This is what we need, America. And you know we need it. Let's do it." I mean, people would be receptive to that. Keep pounding. He's got the winning message. The question is who blinks first, and I don't think it has to be him.
Interesting. What about you, Heather? What do you think? Obviously, no matter what he does, the media is going to trash him, as you can tell by the numbers. So
yeah, they really do. I mean, I cover the economy quite often. The stock market was up again this week. The economy is doing very well overall. Unemployment, 50-year lows. Wages are going up. Over half of Americans view the economy as good or excellent. But you won't hear that on CNN or MSNBC.
No.
I mean, the guy just can't get a win. It's not covered. Even the economic feats of deregulation and tax cuts, that's what really matters to the American people at the end of the day, is do I have a good job and can I pay my bills?
Well, you know what matters to me? Fast food, Cats.
Yes.
Fast food. You eat it. I've seen you eat it.
I do eat it.
It's disgusting. You do it at your desk.
I do eat it. I often order from Postmates to get McDonald's delivered to my house from a McDonald's that's maybe 250 feet away.
Yes, yeah. And you did eat what you believe to be a cookie just about 5 minutes ago.
I did, and it was not a good cookie. I was disappointed in the quality of the cookie.
All right.
If I would have gone to this banquet and seen fast food, I would have been thrilled.
Yes.
It's the best food. I hate when people act like they're above fast food. Like, what are you drinking, some kale smoothie that tastes like chalk?
Yes.
You're eating, come on. Everybody, the joy of McDonald's is incomparable, Greg.
I agree. And it saves lives. It saves lives. I don't have the stats.
3 out of 5.
3 out of 5.
3 out of 5
3
lives
out of
saved.
5 lives have been saved by McDonald's.
That's what
Might be
really
true.
matters to the American people.
It does! There's nothing more American than the Golden Arches.
Amen.
Yes. Tyrus?
Yeah.
Thoughts?
You know, those 2 people that died, they didn't try hard.
they didn't eat enough McDonald's,
They
Tyrus.
took the apple slices, so they had to go.
Yes.
You know what? The coolest thing this week, I actually enjoy the back and forth with Pelosi and President Trump. The problem is I just wish it wasn't during a governmental shutdown because there's some really great jokes there, but unfortunately,
people are out of work.
People out of work, so it's kind of like, you're like, hey, man. But when she did it, when she says, based on security, which is like subliminal for, hey, Trump, you're not coming to my house tonight. She was a legend.
Yes.
She was queen, amazing, brilliant, thoughtful. Wow. He's like, okay, I raise your FU and I give you can't. I'll wait till you're on the bus.
Yes.
Bags packed.
Yeah.
Shots given. You know Pence was like, now, Mr. President? No, not yet. The eye in the sky was watching.
Right.
They waited for her to put her headphones on and lean back. And then there was a knock. And it was a folded up.
Yeah.
This is for you.
Yeah.
You know? And she's like, what the? That's exactly what happened. But he was a monster.
Yeah.
He ate a baby while he actually wrote the letter with baby's blood.
Yes.
Like he was the worst human being on the planet. Childish, sexist.
Yes.
Acosta was a wreck. He had to write a whole new diss for him.
Yeah.
You know, like I just think it's the disparity. They're both doing they both have the same. I respect it. We have the same problem. We both have the last word disease.
Yes.
So when we butt heads, no one will leave because I know you are. I know you are. I know you.
Yeah.
And that's what's going on with them. It's just too bad it's during government because this is going to go for a long time.
Yeah, it's highly entertaining.
They'll be out of office, both of them, and still doing this.
I think he waited until she put the Ambien, like, you know, when you take the Ambien. So right when she put the Ambien, and then it's like, no, you're not, and then you got to wake up, but everything's screwed up.
Yeah.
And you're like, you don't know, I don't know where to go. Never take your Ambien before you board a plane, because if the plane's delayed, you're wandering around. You're wandering around the airport. You end up eating a 4-pound bag of Toblerones. It's all over your face. You say something stupid. And then you mistake a water fountain for a bathroom. These are things that I've done.
Too specific.
Yes, all right.
Yeah.
The Gutfeld Monologues Live is coming to Florida for 2 shows in March, and 2 more cities have been added to the tour because it's so successful. Washington, April 6th. Detroit, April 7th. And in May, stops in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Dallas, and Midlands, Texas. Tickets for all shows on sale now. Go to ggutfeld.com for ticket information. Up next, it's impeachment-itis, and it's spreading more meltdowns you won't believe. You must impeach. The haters beseech. The Atlantic, a magazine, Pete, not the ocean, has a cover story urging to start the Trump impeachment process because it will, quote, rein in a president who is undermining American ideals and bring the debate about his fitness for office into Congress where it belongs. If you say so, Atlantic, but I think you're selling Trump short. You think a little impeachment process is going to slow him down? Hell no. If there's anything we've learned, antagonism is his fuel. He eats that for breakfast. Impeachment to Trump is like spinach to Popeye. 3 quick points why impeachment is lose-lose for the libs. 1, when they impeached Bill Clinton, it made him more popular than ever. America loves the underdog, even if he's a dog. Number 2, if you kick Trump out of office, that leaves us with Pence, who's so conservative, he makes Trump look like Mother Teresa. And number 3, if it succeeds, you still have Trump around, whose folk hero status will make him bigger than Paul Bunyan, and he's not going away, friends. So I say bring it on, because if it backfires, Dems will do this. I'll never get tired of that. Tyrus, I think that the impeachment thing, because you know with Trump, whenever you feed him something that you think is going to hurt him, for some reason he like fashions it into a weapon and then fires it back at you. I think it's a win for, I'm like, it would reelect him.
Listen, this is just like if I was to assault a bunch of people and I got to pick my jury. You're going to do time. Yeah, really? Not with my friends. The Senate is Republican, correct?
Yes.
So you want to waste all this time. You know what? I think he would eat it up. I think he would let the House go forward with it. He would get in the Senate, and he wouldn't show up.
Yeah.
He would be 45 minutes late. Then he would come in, and he would make fun of some people.
Yeah.
And then he would like, y'all want to go ahead and vote? Well, Mr. President, we're going to give you all the... No, let them vote. Or you know what? Talk amongst yourselves. Let me know when they vote. I'll be back. There's nothing that the impeachment is never going to go past the Senate.
Yeah.
The Republicans not going to impeach him out, regardless of whatever you think he might did or what he's going to do. You're not going to get those votes. It's a complete waste of time. The only way you get him out, and judging off those late night show things where they all declared for office, you got to vote him out. And it's not going to. It just doesn't look like it's going to happen.
And the thing is, they got that's the point, Kat. If they really want. We're 2 years into this. Just wait another 2 years.
Right.
And then vote. Why not? I said this before on a show called The Five.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Why not try to beat him instead of cheat him?
Wow.
Yes, thank you. Yes, you did there. Rhyming, a little tip, Kat.
Because Greg rhymes.
Yes. Think about it. Rhyming is fun.
I feel like he is not going to get impeached.
Yes.
Because everything is fine.
Yeah.
Am I the only person out there who thinks that everything's fine?
I'm there.
I mean, I wake up in the morning, I eat an egg sandwich.
Yes.
I run my mouth all day. And then I go home and go to bed and I do it over again. It's fine.
Yeah.
I don't understand what they're seeing that I'm not seeing. It's not that I've loved every single thing he's ever said or done, because I certainly haven't, and I've been very open about that.
Yeah.
But it seems as though there's no middle ground where you can just say, hey, you know what? I might not like this guy. Maybe I won't vote for him.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, we got to get him out now because I don't like him and the world's going to... I mean, I read this Atlantic piece, and it's made it seem like we'd all been living in little mine caves eating beans out of a can.
Yes.
Which we're pretty much only doing if we want to.
Yes. In fact, that's kind of similar to how you described your life, except it's egg salad.
I love egg salad.
Who doesn't love egg salad?
I can't wait to
I don't
be
have
an
a problem with
old,
it. I'm good with egg salad.
old woman and just go around a deli shouting at them when they're out of egg salad.
Wow. That'll be in 5 years. Heather.
He clearly despises President Trump. I think he wrote this article to doom a re-election 2020 bid, and I completely agree with Kat. Look, you vote him out. What'd you say? If you can't beat him,
cheat him.
No.
Eat him. If you can't beat him, eat him. That's the cannibal. That's the cannibal wing.
See,
of the
now
party.
he's going to get weird. It's going to get weird. It's going to get really weird right now.
It is.
But 63 million Americans voted for him, so whether you like him or not, you can't delegitimize the election process, and not liking him, like you said, is not good enough. That's not, by itself is not grounds for impeachment.
I just don't know if they can get past it, though. They can't focus on 2020 because they haven't gotten over 2016.
16, exactly.
And they don't believe he's legitimate in the first place.
They can't enter a new relationship when they're still involved in an old relationship.
Are you talking about the government or my ex-wife?
Isn't there already that ex out there, and he's called Bob Mueller, and he gets to, doesn't he get to decide?
Yes, he gets to decide.
Are we waiting on this?
Yeah, I find it highly entertaining. And the thing is, if this dog catches the car is going to hit the dog. That's all I'm saying. All right.
Over the dog.
Up next, my fingers. What would happen if there was a female version of the Gillette male bashing ad? We're going to show you, even if you didn't ask for it.
My friend swears